Yeah, I want to talk about this idea of gardening 365 days of the year. And here in Ecuador, we have all these oddities that occur. It's definitely an energy play. You have to have enough energy for these coffee plants to keep going. You have to constantly update your soil. We have no worms here, none. Like it's really, really rare to find a worm in this great soil. It's a great place to produce food. We're missing a bit of sunshine. We have all the moisture we could ever need, but we could use a little bit more sunshine to have these coffee beans ripen, for example. So, this idea of an energy equation is for us based on having incredible amounts of green matter that we can actually trench compost. And that makes all the difference in the world to us is if we can have this production going on where we can grow and harvest massive amounts of green matter. And this green matter keeps everything going in the garden. And we basically have to figure out how we can create enough green matter to keep this 365-day machine going. And figuring this out requires a bit of experience. We think, we're going to come to a warm place and everything will grow. It does grow, but you have to sort of pay attention to it more than when you have a cold winter where the plants get to settle in for 4 months and basically are a lot less energetic in those 4, 5, 6 months. So it's very important to have this predetermined idea that you're going to be in a bit of trouble if you don't have enough energy for a 365-day garden. Like I said, producing food isn't a problem, but you want to keep that energy cycle going because there is no rest. And when a garden doesn't have a rest, it might struggle. It might it might not do so well when you have to constantly feed the lion. It's like when everything grows with all this moisture so well and you're not paying attention, you have to sort of be very observant of what is going on exactly. And you have to, in our case, we have to keep on growing stuff in order to be able to have this green matter, or green manure, whatever you want to call it. And one of the plants we use for that a lot are beans. We will grow a lot of beans in areas that we've just cultivated. A lot of times we till it in. A lot of other times we harvest it. And we're after a lot of these nitrogen nodes that are on the end of this stuff that are storing all this nitrogen for us. And it's interesting here, you'll have a growth cycle. Like this plant will be like this this coffee plant will be like this for 2-3 years. And then all of a sudden it does this, boom, it'll grow. And it's hard for us to really understand why it's like that. But you have to get used to it, that there's this period of where everything has to acclimatize to the garden itself. It's not instant, and it's not always, how do I put it? It's not always obvious to the gardener. We try to run this garden off of biodiversity or plant diversity. There's reptiles everywhere. There's birds that come in, especially late evenings and in the morning, early morning. And everything is dynamic. There's this life that goes on because of the fact that there is no winter break or fall break or whatever you want to describe it as. We have certain weeds. This is one of them. It doesn't scare us. It will always produce green matter for us, so we're not really hunting it down so much. Like the nasturtiums and this honeysuckle that's coming through here. This was brought definitely by birds. The honeysuckle is a very interesting story to that. Sorry, the nasturtium. Very interesting story. When we first planted it here, it was outrageously big. And now it's not doing the same anymore. It's not as big anymore. And so we have that little bit of a problem in the garden where everything grows incredibly well. And then there's a little bit of a change. It's not growing as rapidly anymore. I don't know exactly what that is, but we've noticed that with a lot of plants in the garden. So bringing this garden to keep it alive, I mean, you have to really reinvest a lot of energy. We have really good soil. We never had good soil, but our soil is getting better every time. And that makes a really big difference for us when it comes to keeping the garden going. So we're doing really well having this mixture of, productive plants with flowering plants. That mixture and that diversity seems to really help us out a lot. And we're basically getting to a point now where we have this established, fruit trees and ficus, and we have all these plants that are sort of like the skeleton of the garden, these coffee plants. So if you can do that, is to punctuate your garden with specialty plants or special plants that take up a certain amount of space. And then you know where you have to work around, around the bottoms. This will take up its space, and then you have the rest of the space for you to put, lower growing fruit shrubs or whatever it may be, just to set it up in such a way that everything is organized and every plant sort of has its place. I'm really excited about the success we've had with these beans. We let them grow for a month or two, and then we harvest them. And a lot of times the roots stay in the ground with the nitrogen nodes, which is good for us. And as you can see, they will take over, so you have to be very aggressive with them so that they don't stifle out other plants. One thing we do try to do well, we do this well, is we don't let too many of these weeds go to seed. We try to stay on top of it and get rid of them as soon as we can before they take over the garden too much. So it's not all roses and beautiful gardens. There's a lot of work involved keeping this 365 day mechanism going, because everything grows incredibly fast here, but also requires incredible amounts of energy. It's a little bit exaggerated how much energy these gardens need. And we invested in the garden with great soil in the first place. So what I always get at is soil first, soil first, soil first, and your garden will come along very nicely. We have a lot of good seeds that we sort of spread near the river just to keep the river going so it doesn't get washed away. And a lot of these plants, you can sort of feel right away if they're happy where they are. So you have to really pay attention. I got a coffee plant here that's being smothered out. So it's really important to make a good judgment on how much space and energy your plants need in a 365-degree day garden. It's funny, I've never gardened before with, green manure being our main energy source. I've always brought in soils or bought soils or made some composting piles. But this trench composting sure has worked out for us. It's made it very possible for us to keep growing at this pace. And it's been a lot of work, but a lot of learning. Like when you come to a warm climate, fortunately we have lots of moisture here, but when you come to a warm climate and you have to deal with your garden 365 days and there's no rest for the soil, there's no rest for the plants, you have to really pay attention. It's a lot more intense in terms of not having that rest for the gardener and for the garden itself. So it's a very different type of gardening than what we're used to as coming from North America or wherever. Okay.